Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. Our first day of summer, I should say. The first thing, and unfortunately he's not here tonight, but we'd like to welcome our new student board member, Connor Kenahan. He had a previous engagement, but he should be here in June, so we welcome him and look forward to him being on our board this year. Our second order of business is to approve the April 12th, 2011 board minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. The motion passes. Thank you. Our first presentation for the evening is going to be Adopt a Park, the landscape plan for Elloa Park, and it's going to be presented tonight by Vance Barnes of David J. Frank Landscaping.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as you can see on the
Vance, just 1 second. Vance, you have to go to the microphone
Yep.
over there. Thank you. The podium.
The podium, and then they'll take a camera picture of you, and you'll be on our cable TV.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well,
Thank you.
thank you for having us this evening. Elloa Park, I started working on this about 6 months ago at the request of one of the donors. And the present condition of the park is that it is a native planting, but it just is a little unkept at this point. And there are some areas that are starting to lose some of the vegetation. So I developed this plan, and the idea was to take the existing shape of the layout of the playground and just work from that. We've got some very strong, bold lines running through it that twist and turn through it. It's a playful kind of design, so as you look at it during the growing season, there's going to be a lot of movement running through this design. The first iteration, I didn't use a lot of native material, so meeting with people at the park and finding out their desires to incorporate native plants. Everything in here is a native or a very close relative of a native. So I used a few of the plants that are somewhat cultivars or hybrids of natives so that they do bloom longer and have a better visual impact. So we're incorporating a lot of ornamental grasses, a lot of flowering perennials, and then I've got a couple of groupings of ornamental trees as you come into the park, and then and getting a little playful with the little circle in the middle, trying to do a compass rose with that as well. So the overall layout, I think, is going to be very full, very colorful, and it's going to have a lot of good movement to it. And I think as far as the maintenance of a layout like this, especially when you're dealing with native plants, we've compartmentalized a lot of things, so it's going to be easy to tell if things are getting out of hand or moving around a little bit. So the maintenance on this will be fairly simple. We're planning on using a land and stone edge, which there is some already in place, so we'll recycle that and use it as an edge. And then, we'll be running all the way around the plant beds with the land and stone edge, so that it's very easy to mow and maintain. It keeps the grass out and keeps all the mulch and the plantings in. So it's a little more extensive, I think, than what is on site now, but it's, again, great color, great playful movement, and I think it's going to be a great improvement.
So Vance, will you still see the playground itself?
Yes.
So the intent is not to block the playground, it's to just
Correct.
give it a little bit more,
Right.
what?
Well, there's a lot more color and more organization to it overall from what's there now. The plantings that are there now are, it's hard to see any kind of specific design or specific organization to it. So this organization will be very obvious. And as far as the planting, there are a few of the plants, some of the switchgrass that'll get like 4 foot tall, and there's some Joe Pye weed that'll get 4 to 5 foot tall, but those are just in spots. The idea is to keep it, if you drive by, you can see into the park and see what's going on, not to create a bad situation by any means. Plus, for the parents that are sitting around the edges, they need to be able to see in and see what's going on in the park as well. So we've tried to keep a lot of avenues to get into it.
Being that it is a playground and kids, balls, throwing any problem with them destroying the plants or getting in the plants or hurting anything, or is it sturdy enough for the kids to, if they happen to go in the...
Right. I would say everything in there is going to be able to take some beating around a little bit from the play. I have no concerns that way.
Okay.
Have you incorporated any, I can't see very well, have you incorporated any or many park benches here?
There are some park benches in the center, but I haven't added any more than what's there right now.
Okay.
Vance, I know you've put some trees into the landscape as well, which we're sadly lacking with the loss of our big old beautiful oak that died out there. But could you touch base a little bit on the trees? Because I think that's something that over time is going to be such a wonderful addition to the park.
Certainly. And as you come off of Middle Fork Road, there's 5 groupings, and we initially had poplars figured in for these, the quaking aspens in there. After looking at some of the deer damage that's occurred down the road on poplars, I've switched that over to a single stem white birch. So as you come in, we've got 5 groupings of 7 to 10 white birch along the walkways as you come in. And then we use the swamp white oaks flanking either side of the playground itself in groupings, 3 of them on either side, right here and down here by the shelter. And then right in the center here, I'm proposing an Accolade elm, which is a hybrid of American elm and one other native elm. Right in the center, because they grow very fast, they'll get us some shade, especially where those benches are, right there in the middle. So there's, there's a lot of concrete there. We need to get a little bit of shade started on those as quick as possible. The elms are great. I love them. They grow fast. They're a great tree. They're going to be around a long time.
And is the Accolade elm, is that resistant to Dutch elm?
Yes, it is. That's actually all the cultivars and hybrids that they've come out with lately. That one's considered very fast-growing, low maintenance, resistant to most of the diseases, plus elm leaf beetle, things like that. So it's one of the better ones to use for, especially in a large setting like this.
Maybe this is a question for you, Mary. In the write-up that we got ahead of the meeting, there's a statement that says that the scale and care of the additional plantings would be beyond the city's city's resources. Are we locking ourselves into additional maintenance costs if this donor's generosity dries up after 1 year?
Well, I think the challenge is always establishing these native landscapes, and it's really during the first year to 3 years. It's the challenge and the watering requirements that go into that. I think once it's established, it will be something that our crews will be capable of doing. Right now, we've been spending quite a bit of time just removing some of the dead that's not survived well out there. That was probably not the best selection initially that went in, as well as trying to make a little bit hardier ground cover areas in some of the areas where the people were crossing through and that kind of stuff. So I think that in the long run we should be okay with that. The donor has committed to 1 year, for sure, to help us get it up and going and well cared for, and then we'll have discussions later this year and see if we can continue to extend that further. But I think these critical year is going to be this year. I think it is a landscape plan that it's easier for us to maintain than the highly manicured looks, on the different parks once it's established. So.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to see where things are supposed to be, and if they start to move around, it's easy to take those things out. So.
Do we have any projections for what maintenance might cost us once it's established?
With the new plan? No, I don't. Maybe Vance does. I don't know.
For beyond year 1?
Yes.
I can't give you a figure, not knowing what the local pricing would be, but really what you're looking at in a plan like this is, going in the spring and just cutting things back, the perennials and the grasses and getting rid of them. And there's really no watering or anything to go on after the establishment period, so you might have to do maybe a little weeding or something maybe once a month through the season, but there's really not a lot to be done once it gets going.
Thank you.
Now, with that caveat there, to say that down the road, with any perennial grass, there may be a need to divide them up after time once they start getting large enough that they start to choke themselves out in the center. So there may be every 3 to 5 years a need to go in and divide up some of the plants. But then you have a plant sale and you have a lot more plants.
With Ella. Great.
Last time we talked about this, we talked about the importance of giving the surrounding community opportunity to look at the plan and provide feedback. And I understand you sent a letter to the Middle Fork Homeowners Association. I'm concerned about the timing, though. I mean, if this letter went out basically a week ago, and I don't know if there are any members here tonight to provide comment, but this seems like it's happening very fast. And if we learned anything from the Forest Park experience, it was that we want to make sure we give ample time for community input. So I guess I'm questioning why the hurry up and do it now. And can we afford to wait maybe another 30 days to allow the community to provide input?
Well, I know Vance wants to answer that. The request came in to, the donor wished to move forward, and that didn't come in until May 2nd. So yes, we were in a quick turnaround to try to execute it. But she has identified, I believe, the plant stock, et cetera, and it is most ideal to try to get it in here during this timing if possible. I did talk with Dale Dobroth, who's the president of Middle Fork Homeowners Association. He did email it out to his homeowners as well as, spoke with some of them. They have a meeting on Saturday, and he said from the first review, when we sent out the plans, he got very positive feedback from it. They were very excited about it and very supportive of it, and has asked me to bring the board to their meeting. They have an annual meeting on Saturday, and asked me to bring the board and have it up there so that people could see that, and if there were other questions, they could give us some feedback or concerns at that point still. So the timing is tight, but the plan hasn't changed significantly since what we sent out to them really a month ago. And so, and I got no feedback of concern at that point, and now it's gone out a second time. So, but as the whole community as a whole, this is a quick turnaround on the landscape plan.
The one thing I'd like to address about that too is we've been fairly lucky with the weather in this particular situation. Because of the plants that are there, we do want to transplant them and use them out toward the prairie edge. We don't want to just get rid of things. So we've been pretty lucky because it's been cooler and we've had wet weather and things haven't really taken off that fast. So we've got a little bit of a window yet that we can take those things and move them out and use them in the park itself.
How much of a window do we have?
I'd say if we can get started in about a week and a half, we're going to be right there. We need to get them out within the next 3 weeks.
What kind of difficulty is presented if we postpone a vote until the homeowners meeting?
You're saying vote to approve it contingent upon getting no negative feedback at the homeowners meeting?
Yeah.
We could certainly.
Because that's just a
I'm
Saturday,
comfortable
correct?
with that.
Right,
yeah.
that's just be
I'm not ready
Saturday.
to
Is that,
approve
that's
it.
not going to push you back if we
Yeah.
wait until Saturday?
When's the
This
date?
coming Saturday,
Saturday.
14th?
Yeah, as long as we can get approval, starting next week, so we can mobilize and get ready to do this. That would
Okay.
be great. But yeah, we need to move along with the things we need to transplant just for their viability's sake.
Does that sound good for you all to wait until the Saturday? Or approve it contingent upon no negative comments or feedback at the meeting, the annual meeting on Saturday? Does that work with everybody?
I'm okay, but what if we do get negative feedback? Then what happens? Do we reconvene?
Then,
Do
yeah,
we go back
we'd
to the
either have to
drawing
call
board?
a special meeting of the park board if we wanted to still move it forward, and if you didn't want to move it forward, then I'd have to notify them that we wouldn't be executing the project this season. So,
In many ways, this kind of sets the precedent for our Adopt a Park program, and I'm just concerned that if we set a pattern that, we get a very generous donation, it gets through quickly, I'm uncomfortable with that precedent. So I think we just got to make sure we give ample time for everybody to provide input this time. Do you agree?
I do.
I think that was the challenge when we first received the plan, because it came in as a conceptual plan, and at that time we had been seeking from the donor some clarification as to her timetable and final plant selection, and unfortunately we didn't have that at the last meeting, though we had, as I mentioned, probably 95% of it was the same, and then we have this opportunity, and so that's why I did bring it to the board. But we tried to get that information out now for 2 meetings, but I understand your concern with it. So
Okay.
So I'm okay
Okay.
with the contingent approval, but I think we just need to have a plan. If, in fact, there is some negative feedback on Saturday, what do we do about it?
Go ahead.
Reconvene.
Reconvene?
Okay.
We reconvene?
So why don't we do the motion to approve the plan contingent upon the Saturday meeting, And then after the Saturday meeting, I will contact the park board and let you know what happened at that meeting and what the recommendation would be for our next step.
Okay,
Okay, and we can put
That's
that
fair.
as,
that sounds great.
Just-
as an addendum to our minutes.
Yeah,
All right.
and we could, as a board, if we felt that the negative comments were substantial, then
We can,
say at that point,
Yeah.
not to go forward until.
okay.
I'm
Do
fine
we,
with that.
do we have anyone in the audience from Middle Fork? No? Okay.
Okay. All right.
Do you want me to make that motion,
Yeah.
Mary? All right, so I'll make that motion to approve it, as long as there are no major disagreements with the homeowners association.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Approved?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion?
Thank you.
Thank you very
Approves.
much.
Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. We have a presentation today by the president of Lake Forest Open Lands Association, John Centel. Thank you for coming, John.
Thank you for the invitation. Is this the, I control it by the remote here, or no? Well, as you mentioned, I'm John Centel. Thank you, Mary, for the invitation, and to the committee for being able to speak here tonight. What I thought we'd do tonight is talk to you a little bit about Lake Forest Open Lands history and our mission, as well as our role in conservation and the community, and then talk a little bit about our partnership, our ongoing partnership with the City of Lake Forest. As the City of Lake Forest recognizes its 150th anniversary, I think that's it's starting tonight. It's important to reflect on a common thread that has defined our community from the beginning, and I would say that's a respect for our unique natural landscape that defines Lake Forest. In terms of land, what we have here is really quite special. In fact, I can't think of anywhere else except perhaps Northeast Ohio that has what we have in terms of natural landscape. When you look at, we have from lakeshore to bluff to glacial ravine to upland woodlands to savanna, wetlands, and prairie. It's really quite remarkable what we have here. And it's not just the fact that we have that rare mosaic of landscapes, but it's the fact that these landscapes are really quite rare. Some of them are globally significant, including our black soil savanna and prairie. And so what some people don't realize is that within our borders here in Lake Forest, we have 15 tracts of land that are part of the Illinois Nature Preserves system. And that's the highest level of acknowledgement that land can get. So this land gives us the sense, I would say, the sense of place and the sense of history, and it's not unlike, say, Market Square or our high school. But the fact that so much of Lake Forest Open Land's natural character exists is not any accident, but I think it reflects this spirit of conservation that has been within our city from the very beginning. And I'd like to suggest that Lake Forest Open Lands Association is really a reflection of that ongoing conservation spirit. 43 years ago, a small group of folks got together, and our organization was founded to set aside land that was rapidly disappearing. And 43 years later, the result is over 840 acres of land that is preserved, of essential wetlands, essential prairie, woodlands, and black soil savanna. I always like to acknowledge the vision of our founders. I've only been in this position for 8 months, but the vision of our founders is really quite remarkable. When you look back at 1967, the year we incorporated, it was already 5 years before Earth Day was even begun. It was before the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act were enacted, and in fact conservation nationally was moving, but there was really limited state preservation and basically no regional and local preservation. So their vision is really quite remarkable, and we all owe them a debt of gratitude. There was this small but very tenacious group of residents that were concerned about our rapidly disappearing Lake Forest landscape. And so their commitment and leadership really allowed Lake Forest Open Lands to do what it has accomplished. So today, 43 years after our founding, our mission is really dedicated to 3 core principles: land preservation, land restoration, and environmental education. For those not familiar with our organization, some facts about our organization. As I mentioned, 840 acres preserved. We are the first and only nationally accredited land trust from Illinois. The Land Trust Alliance is the national governing body of land trusts, and accreditation is quite hard to achieve, and it's based upon professionalism and the quality of your work, et cetera, and we are one of a handful to have that accreditation. We have educated over 35,000 children in our environmental education programs. If you go through the Lake Forest Public School District or one of our local schools, chances are you've been to one or many of our education programs. We are considered outside of our borders a national leader in land trusts, a well-respected, nationally known organization. I talked about the land in our nature preserves. In the nature preserve system, we have 2 actual Illinois nature preserves, Shaw Prairie and Middle Fork. That's the highest level of protection that any land can receive. I would suggest that McCormick Preserve, if it ever applied for that sort of designation, would receive it. In those habitats harbor important biodiversity. We have many threatened and endangered species, that critters that live here, plants that live here or migrate through here, and we've accomplished this all as an independent nonprofit organization. While we partner with the city and others, it's really through the contribution of our members and our donors that we get this accomplished. So about the land. Today, we have 7 nature preserves and over 12 miles of trails that are open year-round to the public. That does not include Openlands Park in the center of town. All of these trails and all this land is within our boundaries for all to enjoy, and there's still more that we can do. We offer special natural places to go right in our own backyard. I thought I'd throw a few pictures up here. This is Dupree Bridge over in Skokie Nature Preserve. This is the wetland and boardwalk at West Skokie Nature Preserve. And one of my favorite areas is a little-known area out in Middle Fork called the George Beach Trail and the Hammond Wetland. This is a little spot that you can sit there and look west, and if the Metro train and Amtrak's not buzzing by and it's quiet, you'd think you're 100 miles from nowhere. So it's really a wonderful spot. I encourage you to go visit it. I like to throw this up here. There's Laurel Avenue in 1975, just a 2-track. It looks a little different today, but really when you think about what it could have been, it's remarkable that this area was preserved. And pulling back a little bit, this is an aerial shot taken in the early 70s of our Shaw Prairie. As I mentioned, Openlands believes that our remaining national areas are very precious. Not only are they vital to hundreds of plants and animals who call them home, but it's these kinds of areas that really make Lake Forest a special place to live and to work and raise a family. And I think when you talk to people in other communities, they'll look at what we've done up here as a community and say, that is remarkable. We certainly don't have that. But along with preserving the land comes the very big task of managing the land, and it is indeed a big job. Lake Forest Openlands Association has 4 full-time restoration ecologists, and they work closely with the city, Peter Gordon and city staff, to exchange information, and they're constantly working to restore our lands. But volunteers, we simply could not do it without the passion and dedication of a large team of volunteers. For example, each summer we benefit from our land management intern program, which is a group of about 10 college and high school students who assist our land management staff. And it is tough work. A lot of weeding and pulling garlic muster and hot and humid and buggy and tick-infested conditions, but they do it with a smile on their faces. And many of these interns end up going on to careers in conservation, which we're very happy about. Opportunities to help Lake Forest Openlands and get involved in conservation are available for all ages and interests. There's an opportunity to learn and make a difference by working at Lake Forest Openlands in many different ways. For example, here Ed Yastro has helped Openlands collect seeds from our native prairie plants, and then these seeds are spread by Ed and other volunteers or they're sorted and replanted, and they help to reestablish our prairie in other areas. Richard Muir oversees our bluebird monitoring program, and under his leadership, the number of bluebirds nesting in our areas have increased significantly. Our VOLS, Volunteers for Openlands Education Services, are volunteers who are trained and then help to educate our students at our school programs at Melody Farm Nature Preserve. Earth Day, our annual Earth Day planning always draws a big group of volunteers, and this year, in connection with the city's 150th anniversary, we celebrated a new program called the Play Out, very successful. Children and their families were encouraged came and pledged to spend 150 minutes outside play during Earth Day weekend, so we basically had structured, unstructured play. And it was really quite a success, although it was a little misty and cold, but they were thrilled to go on natural obstacles courses, do shelter building, climb trees, et cetera. It was really a great time. Corporate sponsors are important to us, such as REI, and they help us maintain our preserves, as well as we have a very vibrant and volunteer program with HSBC. They are a key partner of ours. The summertime brings the much anticipated Lake Forest Day Parade, and we are happy to participate in that parade. But with the kids heading back to school and when the shadows get long in September, it means it's time for our bagpipes and bonfire. A little history on bagpipes and bonfire. In 1928, Mrs. Evelyn Shaw McCutcheon hosted the original event in the meadow west of Ragdale, and then hiring a bagpiper to make festive the fall chore of burning brush. And that small neighborhood gathering has grown now to over 100 pipers, a bluegrass band, pony rides, games, and of course the lighting of the bonfire. And bagpipes is an event like no other in Chicago, and it is now one of the great Lake Forest traditions, and I encourage all of you to attend for some fall fun. As I mentioned, education is a cornerstone of what we do at Lake Forest Open Lands. We believe that there's something more to nature classes than just learning the names of plants and the parts of plants. And so we embrace the assertion that well-known author Richard Louv said that time in nature is not leisure time, it's an essential investment in our children's health. And our Open Lands Environmental Education Program is based out of the Lockhart Family Nature Center at our Melody Farm Nature Preserve. The Nature Center, which was the first in the community, is named after renowned nature artist Jim Lockhart. And of course, as you know, we are pleased to also be a partner over at Ellowa, where we host our Center for Conservation Leadership. Getting children back outside extends beyond our events, and over the course of the year, nearly 3,200 children have the opportunity to participate in one of our naturalist-led education programs. Our teaching philosophy is that learning from the land deepens our understanding and commitment to stewardship, and this is really what makes our education program so unique, is that we really go deep and we stay with the kids over a long period of time to enhance their learning. In addition to our school year programs, we offer summer eco adventure camps, which gives kids the chance to get some new skills. And our education programs do indeed reach outside our borders. For several years, we've had a successful program with students from Oak Terrace School in Highwood. And our newest program, the Center for Conservation Leadership, just completed its inaugural year. And CCL targets middle and high school students from diverse backgrounds, both within and beyond our borders, with the goal of developing that next generation of conservation leaders who care for the environment and love the environment as we all do. This program combines environmental education, leadership training, community service, and mentored internships. And we had last year 20 kids from 9 different schools participate in the program. So summer or winter, we are very fortunate to have our many outdoor classrooms. I put this quote up here. I love this quote, and I really think this sort of summarizes our philosophy in terms of education. Character may be manifested in the great moments, but it's made in the small ones. And to have children share special experiences and build those lasting connections with nature is something we think takes time, and it's something that's very valuable, and that's what we try to do at Lake Forest Open Lands. In terms of our history, we have a long and very productive history with our city. We've worked together over years to increase space protection, open space protection. We have positively affected zoning. We really pioneered with the city the concept of conservation developments with Middle Fork, with Melody, with Everett, and these models have been used elsewhere. And we constantly collaborate and consult on restoration of open spaces. And I think that all of these and much more have greatly enhanced the historic character, the quality of life, and the environmental character of our city. We have an agreement called the Master Lease, and this partnership is really a 20-year lease between the City of Lake Forest, the city, and Lake Forest Open Lands to partner on managing the natural quality of the land and important conservation holdings and valuable open spaces. There's about 204 acres that consist of the master lease. A couple of note, McCormick Ravine, we all know McCormick very well, 61 acres. It's a very high-quality remnant, has probably, I think the last count, 13 threatened and endangered species in there. North Shore Prairie Path, we just got done with a successful burn with the city a few weeks ago on a Sunday, one of our dry, sunny Sundays. And people don't realize it, but that prairie path from Old Elm to Illinois is about 20 acres, and this is really an important prairie in terms of conservation. West Campus Nature Preserve, the 35 acres behind the West Campus High School, is really a high-quality woodland that we work on as well. I'd like to say that the master lease arrangement is really a recognition between Lake Forest Open Lands and the city of the natural value of our city's open spaces. And it goes beyond the natural infrastructure that those provide, such as saving valuable floodplain, but it's the possibility of continuing to do this and establishing greenway corridors. It does indeed protect both rare and much needed natural habitat. It really improves the character and quality of our life here in the city, and it presents really Lake Forest, I think, their environmental leadership and as a leader to other communities throughout the area. Some of our ongoing activities, we work side by side on burning. I just mentioned the bike path prairie. We do vegetative management on other parcels, removing invasive species. We monitor McCormick, threatened and endangered species, and manage invasive plants, for example, the goutweed at the entrance to McCormick Preserve. We burn the West Campus woods regularly and coordinate volunteer days there to do as much as we can. And we work to prepare land descriptions, and we hope work to prepare management proposals. Some considerations for the future. I mean, I think we all recognize that there's a challenge of executing this agreement in the face of limited resources, and we all do what we can. But I think it's really important that we maintain this excellent working partnership with this master lease. There's the vision of strategically linking these greenways down the road, which is, I think, is a wonderful vision. And we hope to have enhanced management of these lands and perhaps consider a watershed plan. And I would say as the city goes through a strategic plan, and we at Lake Forest Open Lands are embarking on our own strategic plan, that perhaps we can talk about an expanding role as Lake Forest Open Lands as a conservation resource. So we always ask this of our supporters, can we save some land for you? And I think that we can answer together that the city and Lake Forest Open Lands are certainly doing that for our community. So I thank you very much for the opportunity to share a little bit of our background with you.
Thanks, John.
Do you have questions for John, or?
No, it's a great presentation.
I've got a couple of
Go
course.
ahead. I know.
Can I just share a couple of quick things?
Yeah.
Rob, who's with our Wildlife Discovery Center, sent me an email on the way here tonight, and I know Lake Forest Open Lands is out there, and a lot of the families enjoy these things, but our pair of the Midland painted turtles, eggs hatched today, and so we have little baby turtles who came crawling out of the ground and have been scooped up so that we can raise them indoors and protect them a little bit. And the other thing that was neat is that our kookaburras out there mated and have laid 2 eggs, which is quite rare. And so Rob is already on speed dial, he said, to Australia's zoo to make sure that we can protect them as best as we can. But kind of exciting spring stuff happening out at Elloa Farm that is all ties together with the conservation and the education opportunities, not only for the students from Lake Forest Open Lands, but also through our Wildlife Discovery Center, and then just residents that want to come out and learn a lot about those kinds of things. So
That's terrific. In fact, Rob is working on a study of snake hibernaculum on our Middle Fork Savanna as we speak also. So it's a great partnership out there as well. Thank you very much.
John, I do have a couple questions. Sorry.
Oh, sure.
I'm not going to let you get away so fast.
No.
Sure.
So I'm intrigued by this idea of thinking more strategically about how we could work collaboratively together. So first question, where are we in the 20-year master lease? Are we year 5, year 15?
I think it was re-signed in 2005, but it might be 2007. So we're at the early stages
Got
of
a
the
lot of
master
years
lease
ahead of
still.
us. Good. One of your bullets talked about strategically linking the greenway.
Yes.
What does that mean?
There have been conversations for a period of time of linking a series of properties all the way from Middle Fork down to Deerfield. And there was a Greenway initiative that was started a number of years ago, and it was stalled due to funding and due to some right-of-way issues and that sort of thing. But I think it's a great vision to do that you would be able to go along the Middle Fork all the way from up there down to Deerfield. And so that, and it would happen a piece at a time. And for example, over our West Skokie Nature Preserve, there's a piece of property across the river. That would be a potential first link, is to get over that river and be able to expand the ground that people can walk on and hike and enjoy.
So it primarily requires land acquisition as opposed to any
there's
zoning changes or anything?
I don't believe it would require zoning changes. There is one or two little links in terms of land that would be required, and I think there's also funding in making sure that we get all the players together.
And I think some of our big challenges is the connection points over our major roadways.
Correct.
So like we looked at possibly restoring the Trestle Bridge. That's really just north of the compost center on the north side of Route 60.
Yes.
And then having a pathway that would connect down to the light at Academy Woods and would cross over to Town Line Park. The challenge is it's $500,000 for the intersection. Lights and signals, et cetera, for safety reasons, especially since it's so close to a viaduct that you go under. So we looked at, tunnel across, a suspended walkway across, adjacent to the railroad tracks. Bob, again, costly, challenging to do. But those are the kinds of things that we have, brainstormed on and looked at for, future opportunities, either grants or donors that might be able to assist us with that. So.
They're big ideas, and things were shelved during the tough times, but I think there's things we definitely want to keep on the radar screen that would be wonderful additions to the community.
And then one final question. You touched on many of the ways that we're collaborating already. Are there additional opportunities to share equipment, to combine courses? You talked about some of your adventure camps, and it's similar to some of the stuff we offer in Parks and Rec. I mean, are there more synergies we could be realizing?
I think there's always new partnership opportunities we can do, especially now that Ellowa is really off the ground and running. So I think we need to continue to look at that. I think sharing information is a big thing. Peter Gordon is terrific in working in just that sort of collaborative nature is very helpful. But as we go through strategic planning, I think when we can identify some of those things that we can do better together rather than separately, that'll be helpful.
Good.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions? Great. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
John.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. We're going to go ahead and talk about the South Beach Access Road Improvement Project. First, we're going to look at the engineering plans. It's going to be presented by our city engineer, Ken Magnus.
Good evening. I'd first like to start with the plan that we had been working with. This actually shows the existing road here, and at first we're talking about moving the roadway west about 40 feet, and that would have impacted some trees here on the tableland as well as in the ravine here. We've now come up with a revision to the option 2. Again, we are moving the roadway further west, but only by 7 feet instead of 40 feet. And to retain, instead of filling in the ravine, we are putting a retaining wall in here. And these shows the two options. You can see the difference between the two, mainly in the alignment. This is another plan view. It shows the retaining wall over here and the tiebacks. And that's supporting the west side of that roadway. This is a typical cross-section looking south on that revised option. On the left is the bluff, and on the right side is the ravine. And this is that sheet pile, or the retaining wall. And instead of sheet pile, we like to put in a precast concrete wall and make it look like stone. We've done this on 2 of our bridges as well as the retaining wall on Sheridan Road. And these are the main differences between the two options. Again, we moved it from 40 feet westward to 7 feet. Instead of the roadway being 10 feet lower, it's now going to be 3 feet lower. The tree removal has dropped to less than 10 trees being removed. The encroachment into the ravine went from 30% to 5%. And we're not any of the excess material that we had on site, we're going to put in the ravine under the original option. We're now taking that off-site, and the cost for the two options was about the same. And as far as the construction timeline, right now we're in design. We'd like to get this out to bid this summer and have this under construction right after Labor Day. So if there's any questions.
In terms of the original, or the most recent plan, and then the most recent plan, is there any difference in sort of their long-term prospects?
No, they were both designed for long-term. You know, we didn't want to do any short-term bandages that we've been doing for the past couple of years.
So both will be equally,
Structurally about the same, yes.
Is there any negatives towards this revised option 2 versus the previous option 2?
No, I think it's just all positives.
Okay.
Less tree removal, less encroachment into the ravine. Again, structurally the same. The profile of the roadway will make it easier for boaters to drive it. There won't be that huge dip that we had in the first design.
Okay.
So that raises the question, what was missing the first time? Seems to be such a superior option.
Well, I think it's a better option, but the first 5 options that we were looking at, the one that we chose, we wanted to move it further away from the unstable area. That was the main emphasis, and to straighten out the roadway. We're not getting that in this one. So that's
So I'm sorry, can you repeat that? What are we
So
not getting?
it's a slight negative. We're not straightening out the roadway like we had it, and we're a little closer, or we're not further away from the unstable area.
But that has no long-term implications?
No. But the main thing was straightening out the roadway. We lost that.
So that's the major downside of this is we
Yeah, which was an ancillary concern that we had.
but the current roadway, the curve hasn't posed a significant problem for.
No, we were just trying to use this as an opportunity to improve that.
Okay.
So City Council's already approved this, right? So
That's correct,
this
and
is more
I
information?
know Board Member Taylor, who couldn't be here tonight, wanted to clarify that this wasn't something we were requiring Park Board action tonight, because this actually has been through the Public Works Committee as well as City Council discussions, and prior to that, of course, they had this special group that they pulled together to kind of work up this hybrid option, so it's gone through those review processes and those environments, and Council has already approved this option, and has asked, staff to move forward on the bid documents now so that we can keep it moving. But we wanted to make sure we brought this back around through the Park Board, because we have been giving these same informational out at Council as well as Park Board for, making sure we catch with as many residents as possible. And then we want to tie in here to, the impact that it has now, that we know what the option is and the timetables for it, with Sally here, who'll come up in just a minute and can address that aspect for our boating community. But I think that from the residents who've called me or the people that I've talked to, is that I think that the key that we engineering worked on and the residents and everything was there's minimal impact on the site, but also a long-term solution. And we've been putting money down there for a variety, reasons over the years. So I think this is the right direction to go. And the sooner we can get it done, I think the better we'll all feel as far as some stability issues and safety aspects for the road failing. So.
Any other questions
Just the impact of the voting, which I guess we'll hear about.
from Sally?
I mean, one thing that is currently a problem, but a lot of runners like to use that roadway. And at one point, we had talked about possibly including a sort of a path as part of it. Was that just prohibitive?
We did look at that. Go ahead.
Yeah, we discussed that. We'd have to widen the roadway and encroach even further into the ravine. So it's a difficult location. You have a ravine on one side and a bluff on the other. So
You only have so much sweet spot on the top, as we said, and, right now,
Yeah.
we don't have enough sweet spot all the way down and all the way up to put that path in, so if we put it in part way, you'd have to get back on the road again, and the challenges of that, the trade-off, we didn't feel was worth that, to do that. we aren't excited about the joggers and everybody using the road. We recognize that they do, so this will allow them, they can still continue to do that. It just isn't an enhancement, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this will give us a chance to go right over to Sally Swarthout to talk about how this is going to impact the lakefront boaters.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Good evening. Okay, so upon learning of the reconstruction of the South Beach Access Road, staff began discussing the impact of the road closure on our south end users, which include our powerboat launchers, our sailboat and rack storage customers, and our South Beach parking permit holders. Maybe I should do this. There we go. As we went through our discussions, it led us to 3 options for investigation. They are the possibility of powerboat and trailer storage on the lower south parking lot, launching opportunities in our neighboring communities, as well as reduced season fees should access to our facility be denied. So for powerboat and trailer storage on the lower south parking lot, we would require some kind of mechanism or vehicle for launching that powerboat. What you see up here is the trailer caddy, which is often referred to as the mule. We use that to move our sailboats from the storage compound to the cranes and then back again. After talking to the manufacturer of the mule and experienced staff members as well as boaters, the staff determined that the mule is actually inappropriate for launching powerboats for our facility. Why? Well, the weight of the mule is about 800 pounds. So with that weight and based on the additional specs of this piece of equipment, it's an unrealistic expectation for the mule to launch a powerboat based on its size and weight, as well as the percent of the grade of the launch ramp safely. So actually, the weight of the boat and the trailer would pull the mule into the water after it.
So you could launch boats.
It's a new kind of
Yeah,
boat.
we don't,
You just get the
a new
back.
boat, and then it would sink.
One time only.
Yeah, so this caddy is actually designed for moving large things on a flat, dry surface. It is not intended for use on a wet incline with a 10% grade. And so what would happen is we would not have sufficient power to actually launch or retrieve. So the repercussion would then be an unsafe launch and retrieval environment, as well as the loss of the mule to the lake. And the mule is worth about $6,000, so it just didn't seem to be a workable solution. So then we moved on to conversations with our neighboring communities. We were seeking an agreement with Highland Park for the usage of their facility for our boaters at Highland Park resident rates. During that conversation, Highland Park indicated that they too are beginning a very large construction project at their facility beginning in September. Their project is going to close their launching facility for the entire year, which means we may see some different types of impacts to our facility in the 2012 season. So having that door shut, I moved on to conversations with Waukegan. And Waukegan's information indicates that they are sticking to their set daily fee of $20 for all users. So then I looked at reduced seasonal fees. Reduced seasonal fees will be offered to some of our users if no other option for access and launching is found. That rebate would be given to our powerboat users, our South Beach parking permit holders, and then those seasonal sailboat and rack storage users that decide to pull their boats by Labor Day. The seasonal customers that choose to leave their boats will be granted storage until the project is complete. So access to the facility for the year-round storage customers and those seasonal users that choose to leave their boats, kayaks, and boards will be by foot from the lower north parking lot or any of the available upper lots. Then we took into consideration the communication that would be needed because we still continue to discuss and investigate options for the use for the time period of September to December 1st. And so we have decided that we will continue to do discussions and investigations, and we will notify our boaters by June 15th to the decisions made for available usage going forward. And this communication will be dealt with via letter, email blasts, as well as postings to our website. And that's where we stand. Are there any questions?
Sally, you said for boaters who have their boats in the racks or in the compound that they can they can store things there until the project is completed. Could they just keep it there all winter? I mean, normally we charge for that, I know, but...
We do charge it for it. We can certainly investigate it for this season. We do have, it's something we can absolutely take into consideration. What we did do this year is create a new seasonal sticker, per se, to help us with the watercraft impound mint policy. And as these discussions about the South Access Road were going on, we actually extended that permit to December 1st, kind of projecting that this might be a discussion that we would be having. So yes, we can actually look at pull out by December 1st or when the project's complete, or possibly leaving for the year at no extra cost.
Yeah, I imagine it might be difficult to get something out of the rack in
the snow.
mid-December.
Okay.
Sally, you mentioned you're going to continue to look at options. What other options exist that are worth considering?
There aren't very many. At this point, I just am sort of seeking input from people to see if there are any other ideas out there, because I don't want to say I've totally exhausted until I know that I have. So I have no answer for that. I will get back to you.
So in our next board meeting, you'll have a definitive list of options that'll go out to the community with
I
what their
would say
choices
in
are.
the next board meeting, we will have a definitive answer as to what we're going to be doing.
Okay.
What about someplace like Wilmette Harbor? Is that just too far?
That's an option. It's too far to maybe extend the Friendship Hook because it's just that far away. But that's a place our boaters certainly could go. They could also go further up into Winthrop Harbor as well.
Would it be possible for people who really wanted to pull their boats out, use the mule to actually take them along the path along the beach over to the other lot where they could be?
Oh, now see, that's an option I
Good
didn't
idea.
think about. So,
You mean for pulling them out the one time, not,
Right.
what-
not on
Just
a
time.
launch?
No.
Oh, no,
yeah,
just
yeah.
at the end of the season,
Yeah.
I really want to get my boat.
let's clarify that.
Making sure, yeah.
Let's clarify that. The
Not a
boat
daily.
itself would have to make it to the flat, dry surface, and then the mule could possibly
That's the
be
trick.
used to pull it down the pavers. Okay. Pardon me?
We need a truck down there. I have 4 friends with boats, I have an extra truck, and I can just leave it down there.
Oh, there's an
Until
idea.
the Project's done, and before us, we leave all 4 of our boats down there. You can't go to Wilmette, it's completely impossible to get in there, there's 20-year waiting list.
Yeah.
And Waukegan is way too far away. We want a boat in our area here,
Okay.
and we would make no problem walking down the hill.
That is certainly something that can be looked into and discussed. I'm sure there would be waivers and liability that would have to be waived, but we can certainly go forward with that.
Sally, can you repeat that question, because the people at home, I don't think, would have been
Yeah.
able to hear that.
Okay. The question was, is it possible to leave a personal truck vehicle and your boat and trailer down in the lot for the duration of the construction so that they could personally launch using that vehicle? And the answer is, we have to investigate it. We would have to look at waiver signage as well. So that is certainly something I will look at for June.
And it was also mentioned by the audience that Wilmette Harbor is difficult to get in and out of, and Waukegan is a little too far, and they would like to stay around here to be able to boat. So, great. Any other questions for Sally? Great. Thanks, Sally.
Sally.
Thank you.
There's someone in the
Wait,
audience.
I think
don't
there was
know.
a hand back there.
What is the routine
Robin?
timeframe?
Wait, can you come up here and
To the-
speak
to
at the
the
I just
microphone?
wanted to know when they pull the pier out. You know, when is the date that they normally pull the pier
The question is, what is the routine date for when we remove the docks from the boat basin? And that would be mid-November. So those are going to probably be pulled out and placed on the sand and then removed in December, or we will have to come up with an additional plan for dock removal as
Then
well.
what about a happy medium of, instead of September 2nd, starting the project, to having it extended to September 30th or October 1st, and pulling it all out then, so that the majority of the season can be occupied. The lake starts to get warm at the end of the summer season, but the kids are back in school pretty much full time in October. It's kind of nice to be able to utilize that. What if the happy medium is 30 days after the suggested start date, and just asking the crews maybe work an extra 2 or 3 hours a day to satisfy residents of Lake Forest, as well as the construction project that's obviously needed to sustain that roadway.
The question is, what is the opportunity to begin the project beginning September 30th or October 1st to extend the boating season through that warmer weather and warmer water month of September? And I'm actually going to turn the answer over to Ken Magnus from engineering.
Well, the time frame that we have right now, right after Labor Day till November, is tight. And, you know, weather's also a factor here. The contractor could be shut down for a week or two. So to shorten that time frame, I really wouldn't suggest that.
Okay. All right, thank you, Sally. There will be time for more comments and opportunities for the public to address the board in a few moments. Next is our director's report.
Can you pull up the Waveland postcard? The first thing I wanted to mention tonight is that we are excited to continue to move forward with looking at some enhancements for the Waveland Neighborhood Park. And 2 items in particular is the replacement of the tennis courts, which City Council did approve at their May 2nd meeting, the bid. So the contracts have all been signed on the tennis court project. And we started today with removal of the actual fencing on the tennis courts. But the item that's still up in the air is getting feedback for the neighborhood meeting, which will be this Thursday night at Waveland Park. We're hoping the weather will cooperate with us and we can have it actually outside, and if not, we'll do it indoors at in the park pavilion. And one of the things we're looking for feedback on is whether or not we make one of the tennis courts a basketball court or not. And then the other option that we were looking at there, of course, is the playground replacement. And so we have some design plans that we've been working on to share with the community, get some feedback from the design plan for the playground so that we can put together the pricing and the budget, et cetera, and bring that to the park board in June. So we invite everyone. It's anybody who uses the playgrounds, the tennis courts is obviously most welcome for the meeting. And of course, we've sent out postcards that you see up here on the screen to residences in the New Evelyn neighborhood. So we're trying to get the word out with that, and we had some mention of it in our recent dialogue that came out as well too. So that's an exciting project that is in the works. So that will be Thursday night. And then the next thing I was going to mention to you, I don't have a slide on, but I just wanted to mention is we are continuing to work on the design plans for our playground for Townline Community Park. And we're hoping, right now, it's tentatively scheduled to do a community neighborhood meeting for May 31st. We finished these design plans, and they're working on that second playground now. So she'll have some feedback for me on that design plan, hopefully by the end of the week. And I can confirm that date for sure with the park board, and then we'll get out the public information on that as well. But that, too, is an exciting project. I did meet this morning and talked with a number of the homeowners associations that are around that park. We were talking about the Route 60 beautification, but I had an opportunity to also mention to them the playground project, and they're excited, seemed very excited about it, and I'll be getting information to them so they can get it out to their neighborhood groups as well. So that project is continuing to move forward. The Friends Foundation, they have a couple exciting annual events. As you know, they fundraise for us on behalf of our capital needs for the department. And the first one that's coming up is the Golf Classic. And the Golf Classic will be on June 3rd at the golf course. And we're taking foursomes sign up now. I'm sure all of you are up there as a board member are all planning to play. So I will be hitting you up for your foursome fee tonight. And we're going to be hopefully taking on the mayor and an alderman and a couple city manager and another staff member on the course this year. But it is a fun day. It doesn't require anybody to be a great golfer, just somebody who wants to come out, support our department, enjoy the golf course, the beauty of the golf course, and you know, really have a good time. So we have that event coming up. And then the second one, which I don't have, well, we do have a flyer, I guess, the 4th of July. And that is the 4th of July Festival. We have tickets on sale now for your advance tickets to get in. We have Rick Springfield is the performer this year. Not Rick.
Yeah, Rick Springfield.
Is that correct? Okay, sorry. Oh, sorry. And so we're selling those now. He, I guess, has quite a big fan base, so we have sold more advance tickets than we ever have for the 4th of July. So we encourage residents to come get your tickets as well. And that, of course, will be on the 4th of July, and we're very excited about, we have some great sponsorship from the community, which we're very appreciative of. And I know the foundation is still anxious to get some additional sponsors, so there's time to do that. If you're interested, to let us know, and we'll put you in touch with our foundation on that one. And then my staff sent me a whole host of things to share with you because this is our busy time of the year. And I'm going to start first with the dance recital. It is our, as you saw the program here a couple months ago on our dance program, it is our end of the year recital. It's going to be at Lake Forest High School Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this week. So we have about 600 students that'll be dancing in all kinds of numbers. So that's really exciting. And the theme this year is the World Tour. And then we also have the Academy is doing, or the Lake Forest Dance Academy is doing their auditions right now for their performance companies. And there's different dates on here and times. This is a flyer that's on our website, so you can go look at that for all of the complete details on it. But that starts May 20th, 21st. And so this is so any students that want to get in more of our specialized dance companies, and they do stay with us for really around the full year, whether that's tap or hip hop, etc. It's a great program we have, and so those auditions are coming up here shortly as well. Then on May 14th, we have the Kinder Shop. And this is a new program that Kinderhaven is doing, and the flyer again is up here, and it is a upscale resale event that's being hosted by our Kinderhaven parents, and all the proceeds and will go towards our Kinderhaven program, and that's on May 14th, this Saturday, from 10 to 3 o'clock at the Rec Center. And we invite everybody to come out for that. And the next one is our wine tasting golf day at the golf course, demo day, and that's the flyer up there for you. It's going to be on Friday, May 20th from 3 to 7 o'clock, and it's come out. We have a whole host of different kinds of wines to taste and try. Learn a little bit about our golf course. So obviously you can golf before or after, during the event as well. And we'll have some demos set up there. So the different manufacturers will have products there for the golf season. So, combining a couple things here for everyone's enjoyment. And I was talking with Chris Marzellik yesterday, and we actually have a vendor who's interested in doing the same thing, but from Sam Adams doing a beer day. So we're going to plan on that sometime this summer and tie that in with another one of our demo days. So kind of a social affair at the golf course, and we hope a lot of people will come out and enjoy that. The wine and stuff will be great pricing for purchasing wine as well. And then, let's see, on May 28th, the beach opens, and lifeguards, though, begin on June 11th, which is important to note. And then we have camp registration still ongoing. We have over 40 different camps this summer. We still have openings in a large number, of our camps, so it's not too late. And we have everything from preschool through high school in our camp program. So we encourage you again to go check out our website and take advantage of the different camp activities that we have. And that's it for the flyers, I think. And then the last thing I was just going to mention to you today was the Lake County Forest Preserve District's May meeting for kind of an update on what was happening with Fort Sheridan Preserve, the golf option there. The purpose of today's meeting was they had a number of new county board members that had come on board, as well as a new president. So it was an opportunity for them to review all of the history of this project and with their board, as well as the work that was done by the advisory committee, which the mayor, city manager Kiley, and myself participated in this past year. So they did review and discuss those, the work that has been done to date. There was some discussion about next steps, question on whether or not they could work with the Army and get an answer now to eliminate the deed restriction. There was a question on why not the Forest Preserve had not put together just a Forest Preserve option to be considered by the public. And then the questions came up as far as where they might go next if they were to do an RFP or an RFQ for that hybrid golf option and what the timing of that would be. So there was a good dialogue amongst the board members to try to get some flavor and sense of all those things and where they stood. They do have another meeting in June, and it's posted on their website as well. I believe it's June 14th. And that is going to be the meeting where they will probably make a decision about the property, either short-term or long-term, but they're going to come up with hopefully some direction as to what they want to do with this property. So it's still very much an active dialogue going on about that piece of property and what is, possibilities down there. The financial numbers that were shared today were, obviously challenging. The debt potential on the hybrid option, as an example, is about $600,000 a year, and that would have to come out of the Forest Preserve's operations, which means that impacts many things that they do for county residents. So I think they have a very difficult and challenging situation still on their hands, and I'm not sure where it's going to end up, but they were continuing to have those public meetings today. So that will be in June, and we'll try to keep the park board posted on what comes out of those meetings. I anticipate that they will post some things on their website, about the upcoming. They have the meeting posted, but just a lot of this information is up there already. But still an opportunity for residents to reach out to their Lake County Forest Preserve officials and give them feedback on where they stand right now. So. And that concludes my comments for tonight. So,
great. Thanks, Mary. Any comments by the board members?
I have a question for Mary. Mary, at the city council meeting last week, the mayor announced the creation of a property and public land committee.
Correct.
Can you explain what they're going to be doing and how it relates to what we're doing? And
sure. I think that they're still fine-tuning some of the language and the content of that, or the direction, but the thought is that there's a number of different issues that come up that somewhat involve the Parks and Rec Board, but are also more complete, comprehensive things from the public, which is vacating right-of-ways, easements, managing some of the ravine access, whether it's from a park side or from an easement side, trying to determine if there's ever properties that we want to look at potentially acquiring and what would be their type of use. So it kind of gives a committee that would have that hybrid approach, whether it's going to be developed for retail or business purposes or park purposes. So it gives a sounding board, an opportunity for the council to have those kinds of unique property discussions that come up that aren't strictly just recreation or park based, have a format for that. Now, with the my understanding is that depending on the topic, there would be tie-ins potentially, though, that would impact the Park and Rec Board, and at that time, the Park and Rec Board would be encouraged to attend those meetings and would be a part of the dialogue, and then we'd report back, through that committee as well through the Park Board. But one of the things that struck me recently was that one of our challenges, I think, for the Park Board to execute their desires and the needs of the community is that we don't have very good, consistent, ongoing dialogue with council members. And a lot of the other departments of the city have committees that have city council members that actually are a part of that, like Public Works, for instance. There's 4 aldermen that serve on that. And so when these topics go through the committee level, there's already more council awareness of them before it comes to decision time. And I think that's been a challenge and a hurdle sometimes for the Park Board. So part of this thought process is to get the council members connected with some of the park topics or just property topics that do impact Park and Rec and public, just general public areas, and then use that more as an opportunity to integrate the boards together, so we are doing things of the common good. Another example is even like at the end of South Park, there was a parcel of woods there on the very south border, and that's an example. Right now we set it aside, kept it as city property. We chose not to to turn it over, if you will, to utilities easement or to bear development. But going forward, what would we discuss as far as that property? It's not, quote, it's not a park yet, but it might be eventually, an idea might be to make it more accessible, more usable property. But those are all things that are unusual pieces of property that, what do we want to do with them, or where do we go with them next? So I guess that's the flavor of it. I haven't, like I said, I don't think I've seen, we've seen different drafts of it, but the final version of what it might entail hasn't been done. So I think they're working on that part yet, and then I will share that with the park board too.
So it sounds like that's the entity that needs to coordinate the most with the open lands.
That probably would be, though I think us too. I mean, obviously we already do, but
From
if
a
there
land
were some,
perspective though, but for
if there were
programs, I
some
think it's
unique
us,
things like that, could tie in together. I know, for instance, the connection bridge for, I mentioned just north of the compost center off of Route 60. When we meet, it's been, Lake Forest Open Lands, it's been the home, property owners of Conway or Academy Woods. We've had Lake Forest Open Lands at the table. We've had community development there. We've had myself there. It's just brainstorming sessions at this point in time, but just kind of bringing parties together. So it's not strictly just a Park and Rec board issue. It is one that, interacts with so many entities, and so it'd be something we would bring back here and share. This is the benefits from a Park and Rec perspective, and this other committee, though, would bring in, and same thing, John would do it with Lake Forest Open Lands, and that would be the committee that would probably bring it through to City Council, because it touches upon so many different interests, I think, with that. So that's kind of the concept, I think, with it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so.
Thanks, Mary. Anybody? Any other questions?
I actually had a question that I thought of after the gentleman made the comment about a happy medium, and I seem to be bringing up postponing, so I'm not doing that. But I am curious, and I know also that the fall and early and late summer, all summer actually, are great construction season. Is there any chance of moving it, or was there consideration given to doing a spring pre-summer road construction, or is the road that bad that we need to do it straight away?
Well, it takes 3 months. So they couldn't start the project until April because of the, what they would need to tear out and stabilize. That was part of the process there. So the concern was it was going to be April, May, June. And that was assuming that April would work, for a start. The weather would cooperate enough to let us start, and that was a concern. If it went longer, and they needed 3 months minimum, if it went longer, we'd be into the boating season. So, that was the challenge I think they had. They really can't do it in the winter months per se, because it's just the grades and doing the large trucks and the hauling and stuff there is a challenge. So we did look at that, but we really felt that it was better to take it off the back end of the season instead of the front of the season and risk going into those prime seasons. So, yeah,
Fair
good
enough.
question though.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish we could shrink it down. But,
Thanks. Now's the time for opportunities for the public to address the park board. Please come to the podium and state your name and your address.
My name is Sandy Gannon. I live at 650 Northmore, and I have 3 items I thought I'd bring up. I have some photographs. I hope they project well. If they don't, I have some handouts for each of you. Oh, that works pretty well as can be expected. First item is, once again, Forest Park. It just doesn't seem to go away. The item I'm concerned about is the existing erosion north of the stairs going down to the beach, between the bluff and the road. The top photograph was taken in March before the trees in the South Bluff were cut down and a lot of chips. And the middle photograph shows when chips were spread there. The bottom photograph is just before the curve on the ring road. And no chips there, but the point is, whether they're chips or not, that's just contributing to erosion. Nothing's growing there. I don't know whether it was hit with Roundup or the chips that were there last year so acidic that the soil just doesn't allow even dandelions to grow. You know, there was a resident guide for protecting ravines and bluffs that I think Dan Reeves and Peter Gordon authored in 2007. And sentence in the introduction, the city's objective is to prevent extensive erosion. Well, somehow this slipped through the cracks, and it really is disturbing. You could probably do less damage taking a bobcat and shovels and chipping away at the edge of that bluff. I urge you to go out there and look at it. It really shouldn't be happening. It's something that we could fix right away. We really need to preserve this. The narrowest gap between the bluff and the ring road is that northern section. That can be stabilized. I hope somebody will do that. It slipped through the cracks. Enough said in that one. South Beach Access Road. Ken Magnus just gave the updated version, which is a vast improvement of where we started, and what he showed as the first version really was the second version. The first version just filled in that ravine and was a straight cut. Be that as it may, much improved. But if you go down to the South Beach Access Road and look on the bluff edge around that curve, what you see is construction debris that's been there for a year or two since the last projects. Big chunks of asphalt, I mean foot diameter, gravel. The bottom photograph, clearly someone had a wheelbarrow full of cement and gravel and just tipped it over the edge. Not good construction management, no oversight. That contractor never should have gotten his final check. So what I'm recommending is that however this South Beach Access Road construction, whatever the final version, I think we're pretty much there, that not only does Public Works have a sign-off, but Parks and Recreation should. You should have a representative because this is your territory. You're the ones that are going to have to maintain all that landscape, and certainly a lot of interest in that. So I think there should be a joint sign-off, and it should be in the construction documents. Fairly typical, contractor does not get his final check until that sign-off is given. So I hope there's some follow-through, and I think it's to everybody's benefit in the long run. Now for the more pleasant part. In April, went to Highland Park. The Parks Department and Trout Unlimited had seminar, people walking in the ravine. They got an EPA grant for $200,000, part of the Great Lakes Initiative, to restore that ravine for fish habitat. And boy, have they done nicely. White suckers, it's their time of year, April, May, to be spawning. They were clearly up there. They had to do a lot of work in that ravine, but it seems very successful. And when I saw that, I was curious, what's the status of the fish in the Lake Forest ravines? I really had no idea. So last week, I walked up 3 of them, and these photographs are of fish in the Seminary Ravine, which is a ravine right at the base of the South Beach Access Road. And that goes up around Lake Forest College, Witch Hazel Ravine, and Blood Root. They all join together. First day I walked about 300 yards up, and I counted 25 fish, mostly in a great pool there. So the next day I walked all the way up to Lake Forest College, essentially to Deer Path and Sheridan. 67 mature suckers. Clearly some of them were spawning, and some of them, it was near the end of their breeding season. So they were heading downstream back to the lake. But, and that's just, you know, anecdotal evidence, my observations, nothing scientific, but they're trying. It'd be nice if we could give them some support. And I walked the next day up Walden Ravine and all the way to where there's a bridge on Walden Road, another one on Walden Avenue, almost to Sheridan, 67 suckers up there. And I was surprised. I'd be walking up there and I think, well, I've probably gone as far as I'm going to find fish. And another 100 feet, lo and behold, a couple more, another pool full of them. It's surprising. They probably half to 3/4 of a mile in a straight line, but double that with the twists and turns in the ravine. So clearly it's viable to support fish. I did the same thing on the McCormick Ravine, and unfortunately, about 200 yards in from the lake, there's so much debris from pipes. There are concrete walls. No fish can get in there, and it's a shame because if you go all the way up the ravine, it looks like it would be fine habitat. And that's where there are a lot of park camps, so on, classes down there. It would be delightful if that could be revived and just tie that in with some of your programs. So I think there's a real opportunity that it wouldn't take much effort to restore some of these ravines. And I haven't looked at some of the others, but some I'm sure are viable and some probably aren't. But this would, you know, it provides not only a more balanced ecosystem, because we all know the stress the Great Lakes are on, and if we can support some of the native species, that's all to the good. They have a much better chance. And also, I would think there's a potential for partnering with Open Lands was just here talking about their initiatives. This would just dovetail in with it and with some of your programs. So I think there are a lot of opportunities that could be explored, both for maybe monetary support, certainly volunteers to do this, and I suspect that a lot of private landowners who own the property in the ravines, if they were given some guidance, they'd be more than willing to support this. Some of it might be nothing more than just taking down a couple of fences, which are chain link fences falling into the ravine, catching logs and so on. So some of this effort, I think, could be very simply done, but it really needs to be a program that some attention is paid to. And as the gentleman from Open Lands was saying, this is a unique ecosystem we have in this area. It really is very special, and I think this could be one element that could be enhanced if a little attention is paid to it. Wouldn't be a revenue generator. I hear often talking about that in some of the parks programs, but it would be enriching for both the environment and any of the participants that get involved. So that's what I have tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy. Great. Any other comments? Oh,
Give you these hard copies. I'll
okay.
give them to Mary so you can maybe see a little more clearly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Rami Lopat, and I live at 410 East Woodland Road. That was a really excellent presentation. It was really interesting, and you had some great suggestions. For the better part of 20 years now, I've been hanging out with the region's ecologists, and I've learned a lot. And one of the things that I'm really just beginning to learn is more about our ravine and bluff ecologies. And I've had the good fortune now of starting to work with different municipalities on the North Shore to take a look at what they're planting in these bluffs and ravines, and taking a look at the seed lists, and to understand that is to try and come to some understanding of ravines and bluff ecologies. Let me tell you that anybody who says they understand ravine and bluff ecologies is a genius, because these ravines and bluffs are so distinct from each other. They, even the slopes in a ravine cannot be compared. Each one is ecologically, geologically, and hydrologically unique. So to take a look at the plant life is to record and inventory every single slope and then compare it among municipalities. In fact, if you go north of Waukegan, you are in a whole different biome, a world biome. That's how impressed and impressive our ravine and bluff system is along the North Shore. There's nothing else like it in the world. That said, we're very protective of our ravines. Ravines are not drainage ditches, even though we have made them that way. And they are eroding faster and faster because we are forcing more and more water from our developments down into the ravines, from our streets, from our driveways, from our housing developments and so forth. You know that. The sediment and the warm water that's entering these ravines affects fish and affects Lake Michigan's health. As you know, Native Americans burn these ravines every single year. Every year they were burned. And so that they did not have the shade that they unfortunately have to survive with today. Now, in Lake Forest, along the South Beach Access Road came a staff proposal to fix the road by moving it 40 feet to the west, by filling in the ravine, by cutting many, many trees and depressing the road. Thank goodness, many residents did speak up, and in just 2 short meetings, I did appreciate your question, Mr. Volkman. In 2 short meetings, we now have a road proposal that moves only 7 feet to the west. Now, to me, that's a little bit like a sledgehammer becoming a hammer instead of a sledgehammer. It's still a tough proposition. And this is why I'm here tonight, because although the City Council has approved that option, I would very much like to see the Parks Board use its influence with the City Council to demand, actually, that there be a mitigation plan for the plants that are growing on that bluff. That bluff has more plants than I've seen on virtually any bluff on the North Shore. It's gorgeous. Go out there tomorrow, please. And one reason that bluff is so full of plants is that ravine, that tributary, which is called dry by some, has not been cleaned. And I propose that the water is siphoning up through the soil levels, up the ravine, and that's why those plants are so well watered. That's precisely where this road is going to be. And with that retaining wall, out come more plants, out come all the plants, unless you have some kind of mitigation plan. Now, we require that of homeowners who are doing construction in Lake Forest. I don't think we should do anything less as a city than we would ask homeowners to do. And I would like to see that plan be done before the bids go out, so contractors know exactly what they need to do. We may need a subcontract on that one. And as a matter of fact, it dovetails with what Mr. Gannon was saying about parks signing off. You are the only body that is responsible for the ecology of that ravine. Public Works is not caring about the plant life. But this is our beautiful park. It's unique in the world. And I'm asking that your board be the champions of that ravine ecology. You've talked at length about what solutions to bring to boaters. Well, those plants and those fish don't have anyone championing them unless you do it. So if you can see your way clear to that challenge, Mr. Centel talked about a vision. I'm asking you to have the vision to protect the bluff, to protect the ravine and its ecology, its hydrology, and ultimately its geology. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Any other comments from the audience? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.